ask.
Yeah, he was at his house.
Oh, I did see that. It was the waffle.
He had hella mental. I said, yo, bro had because his forehead, they didn't do his forehead.
They didn't do the
It
head?
was just like the
Oh,
cheeks.
no.
He looked paler than me.
It was like his forehead was
Yeah.
like his natural complexion, and then it was just like ghostly. Like on the, I'm like, you got way too much makeup.
That's
on.
crazy. He had the reverse
That's
tan.
the skin tone.
He had the reverse tan on, like he
No, it was
covered his
bad. I
face
said the
whole
same thing.
thing.
Yeah, it looked like he had blush and
This,
powder
that's
on.
what's
but I
natural.
wanted
I'd have to
that
ask him. Like, hey, check
Oh,
like,
the rock toast or whatever it was.
Oh,
I'll tell you
French
in a
toast, sorry.
Yeah,
French
it was
toast.
like big
4-inch
French
thick
toast.
French toast.
4-inch thick.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I was talking about.
Dang.
His chef makes like this toast.
Yo.
It's called rock toast.
I was telling Callie, someone who's 50-something years old, like genetics play a big role, but that's how you know when he eats like that, he's using some good stuff. That's not normal.
He's using some good stuff.
Like, he's on some good drugs, man.
He has all
You
that
just-
money. He's got the top of
Oh,
the line stuff.
Dude, you can't have,
Ain't nobody testing him for nothing.
you can't
Man.
be 280 pounds with like a 8% body fat at
Facts.
55 years old.
Facts.
Is he 50?
The
Rock is 55?
He's got to be
He's
at
something
least
like
50.
that. He's something like that
I
for
thought
sure.
he was younger
I mean,
than
he
that.
was playing for the Hurricanes in the early
How old
90s.
is The Rock?
He's got to
He's
be
48.
Okay, he's
Yeah.
almost 50.
So he's somewhere around there for sure.
Good.
yeah, all your levels are good. Just let me know if you're ready to go.
Testing.
So we're talking about, you said,
I think we talked about game. I mean, you're about to go
first
into
game
it.
stuff.
Yeah. I was also thinking on the intro, instead of me saying your guys' name, I should just
Ryan
say
will get. Don't turn
Coach
him on.
Ryan, host Ryan Beckwith. I
Don't
think
turn
you guys
Ryan
would
up.
say
That's
your
not
own
right.
name.
Oh,
All
okay.
right, that works.
Right?
That would-
That's right.
He'll talk way louder after.
No, no. That's art.
Sounds okay?
Yeah. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Makes it easier for me to line it up.
Yeah, take one. All right, welcome back to A3's The Epitome. Wow, The Epitome. That's the first time I think I've ever
Bloopers,
done
bloopers, baby, bloopers.
The epitome.
that. All right, welcome back to A3's The Academy podcast. I am your host, Ryan Beckwith.
Coach AJ Orange.
Nard Charles.
Today we're going to actually go a little bit deeper into the preparation side of things and dive into competition preparation. So last time we talked, we were talking a lot about going into the testing cycles of camps and clinics and all those things, combines, and how important the preparation for those were. And I want to take it a step further and talk about using that preparation that we did for tests and combines and camps, and now put that into getting ready for a game. With COVID happening and having kind of a weird situation going on, especially with the high schools, we're getting a lot of text messages about, hey, games are starting, it's a little different, what should I be doing to prepare for my game the night two before? And this is where we have to step in and, as professionals and say, look, it is about preparation, and if you're prepped, you should be calm. And I want to
doing much of anything really.
Right, and that's what I really want to get into, that if you've taken the time to prepare for what's coming and you've put your mind through everything that needs to happen going into any game situation, regardless of what competition or sport that it is, you should have a very calm mind going into it, knowing that you're prepped and you're ready to go. And I really want to dive into that. And AJ, you brought up a great point about, what you were doing at the professional football level the night before, ordering room service and kind of hanging out, because what's the point of doing anything else?
I mean, to your point, when I was young, right, my first couple of years playing pro, I was that guy, right, trying to prepare, making sure I was prepared all the way up. Hadn't got on the field yet. The moment I started taking snaps and started actually preparing and then realizing that I was prepared, the night before it just started to become a rest night, right? You're resting, and I was telling you. Later in my career, when I got to the CFL, and I noticed like my roommates would be rookie guys or guys just coming in, that they'd be out in the streets, spending their per diem, going out, doing whatever every time we went to a new city. Meanwhile, like I was telling you, I was in my room, ordering room service, just laying in the bed the whole night before, watching whatever film I could. Sometimes I would have teammates that would be, trying to cram, you know, getting their film in or whatever, and that scared me because I'm like, there's not enough film you can watch the night before that's going to prepare you for the game. That takes time, right? You
Well, and
gotta,
the
like,
retention, you're not going to
yeah, you're not going to
Right.
you cram for a test, right? But only if you can remember the answers. You're not going to remember all the answers. In a game, things happen fast. So like I said, those things make me nervous because where I come from, playing 5 years and then going to the CFL, at this point, it was like I was already prepared and I knew I was already prepared. So the night before was just rest, relaxation, making sure I wasn't tired in the morning, lethargic. I did how I was feeling, you know, using Rapid Reboot or Normatec, whatever it was, getting some little therapy. But for the most part, not doing much of anything. Kind of going over my notes, you know, finding my keys and then relaxing, sleeping it off, and then get prepared for the game. You don't really need to do much of anything.
Right.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of similar the same way. I mean, we play every day, so it's a little bit different, you know, so it's not like everybody's trying to go out and do stuff. But I kind of like to do the same thing before a game. I'm not trying to go out and do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm trying to just relax, you know, prep, watch some video, like the video they may have that they send us on the pitcher, see what he does in certain counts, kind of do my little homework and research. Because a lot of times going into a series, we'll have the list of pitchers who's throwing which games, right? So when we find out the first pitcher we're going to face, okay, I'm just studying everything on him, you know, but unlike you guys, obviously you guys play one
Once a
game.
week.
Yeah, so in my it's kind of like, it's not cramming, but it kind of is a little bit, you know, but at least I have like the
But you
night
guys are
before.
playing like the same team in the series.
Exactly, yeah. So I have the night before, and then obviously when we get to the field, we have a TV in the locker room in the clubhouse, and there's just repetitive film playing of this pitcher throwing. You get to see all the video that you watched, or maybe it's a different video that you watched, something more recent, or maybe it's something from a little bit ago. But either way, you get to see tendencies, you get to see pitches and counts, you get to see how he attacks certain hitters. You kind of match up, okay, well, I hit fourth in the lineup, I'm a big lefty. How did he face, you know, their guy who hit fifth in the lineup, but he's a big lefty too, you know? So that's kind of our preparation in that same sense. And you can visualize, put yourself in situations, think about, okay, I got to run on second and third, or do whatever you have to do, whatever your visualization consists of, and prepare yourself for that game. But definitely preparation is huge.
I think one thing that a lot of people don't think about, they might understand it, but they don't think about it from a preparation standpoint with what you have to go through as a baseball player is, you know, the position players are pretty much the position players. You know, there might be one or two fills, so the second baseman might get filled and he might play a little bit differently, but for the most part, position players are the same. But when you have a pitching staff of almost 20 people, and you have, a rotation of 5 or 6 guys that might be starters, and then you got to know who's coming in mid-game and who might be closers.
What pitches they throw. Are
Right,
they
that's what
throwing
I'm
fast,
saying.
are they
Like,
throwing hard?
just think about that
Fielding
that
positioning.
algorithm there in your head of, okay, if there's 20 people potentially on staff, and this many people are starters, and this many people are mid-game, and this many people are closers, and then this guy's a lefty, this guy's a righty, this guy throws this.
This guy's a good sinker.
I
this
mean,
guy's
we
a good cutter.
just right there in what we just said, I mean, that's close to 250 different things that you need to know, because, you know, people think, oh, well, you play the same team back to back, you know, how hard is that? Well,
Yeah.
no, but it's not as easy as you think as a
Good
hitter,
pitcher, right?
Yeah, exactly.
because you don't know who's throwing.
Exactly, and one of the toughest things that we have to do is make sure that you're focused and you know your pitching personnel, like
Right.
we talked about, like what they throw.
Right.
You know, okay, this guy throws harder, this guy doesn't throw as hard, so they're probably going to pull more balls off of him, and that's something we do too. Okay, well, their first hitter, he's good at spraying the field, but he's a fast guy. He likes to bunt, so we're going to play infield or corners in. You know, at middle, if he hits a ball up the middle, get rid of it. You got to know who's running the bases, while you're also knowing who your personnel is and what they have and what they can do, right? So we always have like a little list too of what people do that we go over as part of preparation, like you watching film where you kind of going over playbooks. You know, we have like positioning on players.
Right.
This guy likes to pull the ball. This guy hits a little harder. We can step back a little bit. We got to shift this guy. Like me, when I get up, I know teams always are like, hey, we're shifting Charles. So they're moving all the way over to the right side. Third baseman's playing shortstop, and they got 3 defenders pretty much, you know, on the right side. So it's like just understanding those things and knowing who's hitting, but also knowing your pitcher.
Right. And that's important to understand that, you know, when you know that much and you can break it down, this goes back to the original point, you're much calmer going into it
100%.
because you've put yourself in position, and we talk about this all the time, that in any given instance, you're going to react better when you've put yourself in that position in your head and you visualized it to the umpteenth time. That's preparation. And if you're walking into a scenario of stress, which is competition, and adrenaline's pumping, there's no time to think anymore. It's react, 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 react. You had all week to think. It's not about thinking anymore. It's about knowing the scenario, knowing the situation of what's happening in front of you and reacting to it. And one thing that I learned, and I learned it actually in college and then was able to take it into the professional realm, was doing both sports in college was just so eye-opening. It was so different. You know, going from football to track in college was, I can't imagine a more contrasting pre-game / competition thing. Because in football, you look at it, and I'm sure it's the same for you, and in most team sports, that you're watching film, you're taking tests on your position and who you're going up against.
Receivers, the quarterbacks, all that.
Understanding that, hey, it's if I'm playing receiver and we're running a 3-set position to the right, so we're running trips to the right, it's 3rd down and 9, and they switch to a different coverage, and one of us has to go in motion to the other side to go doubles. And in between that time, before that and the snap, my route might change 3 different times, trying to figure out what's in front of me, right? And then even in the middle of my route, I might be running a read route, which means my route's going to change in the middle of the route, depending on how the defender's playing me. Okay, so you're going through all that. Then there's, curfew and all those kind of things. You got to get to bed. Then you got to get up and you wake up and you have breakfast with your teammates and all that. And track, it was, you get to the hotel the night before and the coach goes, hey, throwers are going at this time, distance is going at this time, sprint's going at this time, because the time's so different on events. So it would make no sense that me as a sprinter that has to not run until 3 p.m., why am I getting to the track at 8? Right? So they would run shuttles back and forth, and he would tell us, like, just be respectful. Use common sense and be respectful. Everybody prepares differently. So just be smart, be respectful, be quiet, and do what you got to do to get yourself ready. And I thought, at the time, that was the coolest thing ever because I didn't have all this responsibility of tests and video and all that, but as I got to a pro, I really appreciated that because it conditioned me to understand that it's okay to be a little bit different. It's okay to have your own method to get ready for competition. And it really served me well going in, and now as a coach, it really serves me well to get people to understand that you've just got to put your mind in position. Like, what if in track, let's say I'm a sprinter, and you're in a position where the starter holds a gun longer than another person. And if you're trying to react and you understand, it's all about positioning, right? So if I'm in a really comfortable, I don't know that you can be really comfortable in the blocks, but you get what I'm saying. Like if you're in a better position in the blocks where you're able to hold positions, now I can hold that if the gun's being held longer, right? Or if I got a headwind in the pole vault. I got to know how to come out of that because you just never know what kind of headwind or side wind or tailwind you're going to get. You always hope for a tailwind. Long jump, same thing. I mean, we can go down the scenarios of all the different events, but when you start thinking about that, if I've prepped myself for those things, now I'm in a position to be okay. I'm not going to freak out. It's time to I've been here before. It's time to react. It's time to go after it. And that's a really important thing that you can do on an everyday basis as you're going through your training, as you're going through practice, as you're going through checks in practice. Those are things that can be constantly thought about, right? And we talk about it all the time in here, AJ, when we're training kids. We might be doing the most unorthodox movement that you can think of. But if you can be creative in your mind and have an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, maybe it's a posterior chain reaction that we're trying to create, and it's just a really unorthodox thing that you'll never do in tennis, or you'll never do in a softball field. But I've prepared myself to be in that position and react to it now, exactly, just in case. But if I put my head on the field and I put myself on the blocks as a swimmer trying to react to the gun, now all of a sudden I've been there. And I've been there multiple times because we did 50 reps of it in here.
You've conditioned yourself for all the different scenarios.
Correct. So you just got 50 mental reps without ever having to be on the field of play or competition of where you're going.
Mental reps, right?
Yep.
100%.
There's a difference between physical, going through practice throughout the week, and then prepping night before a game. It's
Right.
all mental. Going over the film, seeing what receivers I'm gonna, I would go through the film and line up the receivers, what receivers played on the right, what receivers played on the left, and then I would run through all the coverages. I would pick one play, cover 2 on this play, cover 4 versus this play, man-to-man versus this play, just to see where I was going to end up at
Right.
if I see this play and what coverage I would be in,
Nice,
right?
yeah.
So then when I get onto the field and I recognize something, oh, I did this mentally. Cover 4, I was looking at this on the film last night, and it was this exact play, and I put myself in cover 2. I put myself in cover 4. So I already know where this guy's going to go. I already know where I need to be successful, right? So that's very important.
Yeah.
The mental part
Right.
is preparing you versus
Absolutely.
the physical, right? Practicing and everything up ahead,
Oh, yeah.
leading into it.
And there's that connection point, right? That you're doing something a little bit different in here that will never happen in your game or in your competition. But you're taking that physical movement and you're making it about your sport or competition mentally. And so now you're creating that pathway that allows you to understand what you're doing so that when you need that mental rep, it's there
It's there,
because
yeah.
it's something, it associated to something physical. So as an example, one of the kids that was texting us is, I asked him how he was doing today as his first football game tonight, and they moved him to middle linebacker. And I said, perfect. Remember quick rise and go with the tennis ball? That's playing linebacker. So what I'm saying is, you know, the quick rise and go is a pretty popular track and field drill. You're standing on the line, you say quick, you get your feet going, rise, you get your hands up, and then you say go or you clap so you get that auditory response to take off and you eliminate a false step so that there's no movement in the block, right? You're just, boom, you go. So we've adapted it, and we do it with soccer players and volleyball players and football players and everybody, baseball players, and we use a tennis ball, and instead of saying go, we drop the ball. And you have to catch the ball, so you have to take off the line and catch the ball by the time it bounces the second time. So it'll bounce once, and on the second way down, you have to catch it. So we might be 15 feet away from the line, we might be in some cases 20 plus feet off the line. And so he's gotten really good at that drill, and we'll do it, you know, vertically, we'll do it laterally, we'll do, you know, from peripherals and all those kind of things. And I said that's linebacker right there. That's playing linebacker. Quick rise and go with a tennis ball. And he goes, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, cool, thank you. You know, and it's just, but will you ever do that in football? No, but you get the point that there's a way to associate. And that's what I'm saying, that there's things that you do on a daily basis, picking up your bag to go to school, you know, how you're standing up versus sitting down. I mean, all these things are ways that you can prep if you put your mind there. Like, if I really wanted to think about hitting somebody in football, then the way I sit down and the way I stand up can be a position thing that I'm constantly thinking about, you know, where my spine is, where my shin is, how my glutes are engaged. These are all things that I can be thinking about all the time. Thinking about hitting a baseball, fielding a ball. I mean, there's something throughout your day, every day, multiple times a day, where you could put yourself into a competition mode mentally and really prepare yourself all the time. It's just thinking outside the box when it comes to those things and putting yourself there. And the more you put yourself there, the more practice you get. And you don't have to like turn it on just because you're at practice and then turn it off when you're not there. And it goes into business as well. Like if you're constantly thinking about ways to improve, improvement's going to happen because that's where your mindset is. And that's the same goes for competition, and that's a really important factor.
I want to touch on what you said with the mental reps real quick, just to kind of go back
Yeah.
to it, and going into the games and how important it is because the last year we played, not last year, obviously due to COVID, but I was hurt, right? And all I can do is,
Just get mental reps.
get my mental reps in. And I truly believe, I 100% believe that was a token to the success that I had coming back off of the injury, you know, because I couldn't play, but I would watch the game with a purpose. You know, I wouldn't just goof around in the dugout with my teammates. I was talking with a guy named Freddie Sandoval. He has many years in the big leagues. He's also a team psychologist now. So
nice.
somebody who I kind of worked with through that to kind of ask him different ways that I can prepare or other ways that I can do stuff to like think out of the box. Like you said, like I'm never going to do certain things, but I was doing it in that moment just because I knew that it can help me going forward. And I came back during the game, like you said, like I don't know how many at-bats for both teams throughout the game, but I was taking at-bats when our pitchers were pitching and when their pitchers were pitching. How would I react in this moment? Okay, what would I be looking for? What is he going to throw? You know, okay, where's the fielders playing at this position? You know, okay, it's 2 outs with bases loaded. You know, I'm just trying to put something in play or just put myself in those positions. And when I got back after injury, I hit the ground running right away.
Right. You didn't have to think.
I didn't have to think. It was just
Yeah.
all reaction because of that mental preparation. I was
Yep.
ready. I was ready, and I came back, and my teammates were like, "Dude, like, you know, props to you because I can speak for everybody. I'm sure that we did not expect you to come back like you never left.
Right.
Like, you came back and you balled."
Well, think about like how the mental side of it works. When you're doing that, and you're talking about hundreds a game, because if you think about every pitch thrown,
Yeah.
I mean that's hundreds a game. And so when you're taking that many reps and you're looking at where the second baseman is versus where the shortstop is versus how the outfielders are playing it versus is the first baseman, you know, whatever. Well, you start looking at it from that standpoint. Now, when you step into the box, you look up and you see the second baseman, and now memories happen, right?
100%.
Because when we talk about how the brain works, our brain, and this goes into self-talk that I want to get into as well, that your whole system is based on signals, right? Your brain doesn't speak language back to you. So when you're self-talking to yourself and you're saying, don't hit it at the second baseman, don't hit it at the second baseman, you're going to hit it at the second baseman
Yeah.
because you just visualized hitting it to the second baseman because your brain is speaking signals. But because you went through all these scenarios and hundreds of times, I mean, so in that season, you probably took over 3,000 mental reps.
And it's funny because, like, I felt like I was tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
right, absolutely.
I felt like I was tired. Like, I didn't play, but I felt like just drained, too,
Right.
after the games, in a sense.
Right. Well, it's like what they say. What AJ and I talk a lot because I have a puppy and he's going to be getting a puppy, and he actually is pretty good at training dogs. It's the same thing they say about, you know, when you're training a brain of a puppy, right? Just running them or walking them is not good enough. You've got to take them to like a dog park to get stimulated because they're trying to figure out all these different things that are going on with different dogs, and that wears them out. So to your point, it's the same thing with the brain. You were using so much mental capacity to figure things out, it was tiring. But if you were to be on the field, you wouldn't have been as tired because, it's because you're not thinking. You're reacting because you're a pro, you're thinking and you're reacting. So when we start looking at it from that standpoint, we've got to understand what's actually happening up here and how much more we can prepare just by those mental reps, just by thinking about what we're required to do in our sport or our competition throughout the entire day. And that is such an important thing. So to go back to the quick rise and go idea of eliminating false step, that's one of the things that I communicate to the athletes all the time is when they're false stepping and they can't figure out how to not false step, and for those of you that are listening that don't know what that means, is if I'm standing on the line and I need to go forward or I need to go laterally, taking a false step would be going either backwards or in the opposite direction of the lateral movement I want to go.
Or right in place.
Or, yeah, exactly, or right in place. And so the reason we get on the quick rise and go, the reason the drill exists to get your feet going is because it makes it harder while your feet are already going to now make a step to go forward. Because you want to take a step back to set up that race position. And so what I ask kids all the time, and I say, so were you thinking don't step back? And the majority of them go, yeah, I was. And I go, exactly. You just told
You
yourself
step
to step
back, yeah.
backwards, right? So you've got to think differently. You've got to cue it. And we talk a lot about that on this podcast, is about cueing. Cueing is so important. So it could be abs. It could be setting my glutes. It could be, get my right foot down. It could be just step forward, And those are things that, again, throughout your day could be constantly thought about. That I'm getting out of my car and I put the weight on the ball of my foot to the middle of my foot, not the outside wall of my foot, so that my knee stays in place. Well, that helps your backswing, right? Helps your back position, right? I'm getting out of the car and I put my foot flat on the ground and I squeeze my adductor to keep my knee in line. That's my back leg when I get out to swing.
Yep.
For you especially, since you're a lefty, right? So, think about if we can put ourselves in those positions all the time in our minds, constantly on it, when it's time to react, we're going to be in the right position.
Yep. 100%. It's funny because those are things that you kind of told me before whenever I first started coming to A3. And I remember you would tell me those things and I'd be so mind blown because you don't think about that,
Right.
Those are things you don't think about. You just
Right.
go on without your day. You go to pick something up or you go to get in your car. You don't have that train of thought, but then okay, well, if you move this certain way, or if you do this certain thing, then this can help you with this. And it's
Right.
like, wait, what?
Yep.
Wow, yeah, you're right. Or simply picking something up could be you fielding a ground ball or a ball on the ground where you have to get up, turn, and make a throw. It's like it's crazy that whenever you change your mindset up on how much that your daily activities can actually translate to your sport or what you do, it's kind of mind blowing.
And that, I mean, if we can communicate anything to that younger generation, whether we're talking high school, middle school, college, or even, you know, the first couple years in the pros, everything is about preparation, 100% everything. And the worst thing you can do for yourself is to not be in that mindset and the night before be cramming
Try to get into that.
and
Cram.
try to get there, because you're wasting so much energy going into it. So you're gonna not sleep well.
Yeah, you risk exhausting yourself.
You're
the night before
absolutely.
the game by panicking and trying to over prepare when you should be prepared up
Right.
to that point.
And
right?
then you're gonna throughout the
mental reps.
right. So through breakfast, through lunch, or whatever time your game is, now you're starting to get into this point where you got this nervous energy that's happening because you're self-conscious about what's about to happen
And
because
let
you're
me
not
just say,
totally
the nervous
prepped.
energy is cool. It's fine in some instances, right?
Right.
Because I always get butterflies before the
Right.
game, right? Completely natural, just adrenaline pumping,
Boom.
excitement,
That's
whatever it
that's
is.
a big one, is understanding
versus-
what nerves are.
Versus me being unprepared, and it's
Yep.
like the nervous energy of me not
100%.
not being
Yep.
prepared enough. It's more along the lines of I am prepared and I'm excited to get going.
Yeah, and that's an important thing, is redefining the feeling.
Yeah.
Right, we've talked about that a lot, that,
Yeah.
you know, what is nerves? What are nerves? The nervousness, the butterflies. Well, it's just chemistry happening in your body, and you're getting endorphins and you're getting all this adrenaline to pop into your system. And then if you're not used to that feeling, you freak out. Or if you're not prepared yet, you freak
The moment
out.
I would start feeling that, I knew I was ready.
Right.
I would feel that and I'd be like, okay, now I know I'm ready. Because I'm starting to feel that feeling
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But I know I've prepared enough.
Right.
So this nervousness is not that I'm underprepared. It's more along the lines of now I'm just getting excited.
Right.
You know, that anxiety of that first hit, and then
Yep.
after that first hit, then everything is just,
Yep,
now we're back into the game.
absolutely.
That's happened to me, and actually in that championship series against Justin in Mexico. Like, it's happened throughout my career, but like for me, how I've kind of adjusted with it and how I know is like when I get that feeling, like it's a big moment of the game, you hear the crowd just going crazy, especially in Monclova. Like their fans are like right on you, you know, and it was packed, you know, sold out. And just everybody's yelling, like, and I started getting those butterflies, and you just have to smile. Like for me, I smile because I'm like, oh
You've
yeah,
been there before?
like yeah, I've been here before. Like
Yeah.
like this is where I shine. You know, this is where like I make my money right
This
here.
is
you
not
Right.
the
know?
nervous energy of like, oh my God, am I going to hit the ball? Am I going to,
Yeah.
is he going to throw something I'm not ready for? It's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm
here
completely
again.
ready. I'm
It's time to
prepared enough.
shine.
And I think that's it's an important factor to bring that up, because, you know, one person that we can all agree on that has made that scenario pretty popular, but people hate on him for doing it, is Usain Bolt.
Oh, yeah.
I think about him before the race and everybody thought he was showboating. No, the dude was ready to
I've been
go.
talking to the people that are holding his blocks.
Right,
for him.
and
Yeah.
he's just relaxed. He's having a good time. He's prepared. You know, even when he had the pressure of the Olympic final and everyone's talking about he might break the world. I mean, imagine that pressure. It's the Olympic final, and everyone's talking about you breaking the world record. And if you don't break the world record or win the Olympic final, then you're a failure. And he's laughing about it, right? He's having a good time with it. So you have a lot of people, oh, he's just so arrogant and he's this and he's that. No, he's not at all. No. Let's redefine what's happening here. You have an athlete that has prepared to the utmost degree. And if anything happens during that moment, you should be in awe of how calm he is in
How's
that
this dude
moment.
smiling right now.
You should be so respectful.
Confidence in his
Right.
preparation.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
should be a respect factor that unlike anything we've ever seen, because people that haven't been there are upset that they're not, oh, it's game time, game face, and it's like, no, that's not how at all. That's just not how you should be at all. And if there's an example that we can watch, it's Usain Bolt. He's very gracious. He's not demeaning to anybody ever. He's very complimentary of everybody he races against.
It's confusing that he's so calm.
Right. That's
Upsets
the
people. Yeah.
perfect
Why
way
is
to
he
say
so
it's
calm? I don't
confusing. He's
understand.
so calm. Right.
It just comes off as arrogance. No,
Yeah.
It's not
Confidence
arrogance.
in his preparation.
Absolutely.
He's done enough throughout the weeks. He's ran
Yep.
enough races. He's been there a million times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big stage is no longer the big stage. It's
Right.
just another race.
Or he redefined what the big stage was, and that's what he wants. I
Yeah.
want the big
Yeah,
stage.
that's what
Give
you're
it to
looking
me.
for.
That's the only time
That's
I
what
really
makes me
enjoy it,
comfortable.
right?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
that's the thing is, if we can communicate that to the kids too, to understand like it's okay to be calm. And I know a lot of coaches out there and a lot of people out there are always talking about, you got to be serious and you got to be this, that, and the other. And yet maybe you did as an athlete. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean everybody needs to be. So if you have a kid that's calm and kind of, just messing around a little bit but not distracting, then what's the problem here?
I had that in college.
Yeah.
My special teams coach, right? And this is the year I was leading the nation in kick return. And he was just like, AJ, you're not hyped up enough. And I'm like, everybody prepares differently, right? I was the guy sitting in my locker, listening to my music with my head down, and we had players that, get wild
Yeah,
up,
right.
slamming on the locker,
Right,
dumping over
right.
trash cans, whatever it is, trying to get everybody riled up. Meanwhile, I'm just like, it doesn't take all that,
Yeah.
I just prepare a
Well,
little.
you're saving your energy for
Poetry
the
and
Yeah,
finish.
but then my
out there.
special teams coach is, hey, you're not fired up, and da-da-da. And he would come to me, and if you don't score a touchdown, this and this and this is gonna happen. And
Trying
if
to
you do
add
score, I'm
pressure,
gonna
right?
run down there and jump on the pile. I need to see some energy out of you. So what happens? I run a kickoff back for a touchdown. I'm looking for him. Where are you? You're supposed to be
Right.
down here in the end
Yeah,
zone.
right.
jumping on the pile.
I didn't see. That's what I'm saying. People just prepare differently. It's not
Right.
that I wasn't into the game or unprepared. It's just my calmness is not a projection of my unpreparedness, right? It's,
Right.
Yeah.
I am prepared.
Absolutely.
I'm calm. I'm just ready to go.
Right.
That's all that everybody prepares differently. You can never tell where somebody's at in their preparation based on, the way that they're acting in the
Yeah.
locker room or whatever. Like I said, I had people that would be going crazy, cramming the night before, or acting crazy, and sometimes that would make me nervous. I'm like, I didn't see you doing that all week.
Right,
Man,
right.
how are you
Yeah.
acting like that now? Where is this coming from?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, I've been the same, even keel throughout the week, preparing the same, getting comfortable with being in these weird situations, or seeing these different plays, seeing these different receivers, and just taking it in, and being even keeled.
Yeah.
Right. But you run into coaches that are like, oh, he's nonchalant, or he doesn't
Yeah.
care, or whatever, and it's not that. It's just I prepare differently, right? But then when you see me perform on the field, then it's like, oh, okay, that's just how AJ prepared, right? And
Yeah, he's
again,
ready.
right? And I'm not the only one. There's probably tons of people that I know that I've seen that prepare like me, and everybody
Yep.
just does it differently. But again, you have to prepare to be calm, right?
Yep.
You don't want to prepare to trying to cram or trying to like be rah 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 rah, because sometimes that doesn't work for you. It works against you, right?
Yeah.
It can exhaust you by trying to cram or do too much in preparation for a game.
Yeah, and that's, like I was talking about my college coach, it was the same thing. The college coach would always tell us, like, just chill out, it's going to be okay. My college track coach, not my football coach, but he would always tell
Football
us.
coach would never say
Yeah, right. But that was the great thing about it. And when having that understanding is huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, that kind of reminds
Want
me
us
of
to take
that.
a break real quick?
What is that?
It's this,
Can't get Teltec to come fix it.
Good.
Good.
Trying to honk his horn.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's all right. I mean, we're picking up them too, so it's gonna be,
They I can take out.
yeah.
Them I can pick up.
But it's the train.
The horn I'll go.
That's all right.
Commercial break.
Yep, commercial break.
Podcast is sponsored by Powerhouse.
should be, you think that'll be easy to cut with the,
Huh?
think that'll be easy to,
Yeah, it's fine.
even with the video?
Mhm.
Okay.
Kind of back to what we were talking about, like preparation in different ways and kind of going throughout your game. It reminds me of that UFC fighter that just fought. I think it's Holland. He's a dude. He just talks throughout the whole fight.
Talking through, yeah.
Throughout the whole fight, and then he ended up losing this fight, his last fight he just fought, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, you didn't prepare right," or he's just talking throughout his fights. People are just kind of bashing
He
him
had
for
been
it.
winning doing that.
He was winning doing that, right? That's just who he is, how he prepares,
So you
what he
lose
does.
one and now he's not prepared?
And now he's not prepared.
That's exactly what they said.
And that's exactly
It's
what
like
they said.
you're not focused enough, you don't take it serious enough, because he would be in there talking to the person that he's
Right,
fighting,
right,
or
right.
talking to the coaches that are outside the octagon
Right.
as he's fighting. Give me some tips. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And people are like, because most people don't do that.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
just in there for the fight,
Mhm.
talking, listening to their coaches, but never giving verbal cues back.
Mhm.
Right? He's in there talking to the guy that's punching him. That's a good punch.
Yeah, that was a good
That was a
takedown.
hard punch. Say anything.
Why you hit me so hard, man?
And that's what makes it entertaining. But at
Yeah.
the same time, if he's always been doing that, that's just how he prepares, and
Yeah.
that's his normal.
Right.
And maybe
So
you
when
change
we look
that.
at it, we're like, what? You don't look like, he's not prepared. He's not
Yeah,
showing, he doesn't care
exactly.
or whatever it is. But he's been
Exactly.
winning, right? But he loses, and he should have won, right?
Yeah.
I saw the fight. He should have
Mhm.
won. He was winning. The guy came back and threw some punches at him and put him down. But he's a good fighter. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like he's not he was at that stage for a reason.
But what if we
Exactly.
would have had that technology when Muhammad Ali was fighting?
Oh
Right.
man, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Was
would
he
say-
not-
we're
was he not
not
talking-
going to say Muhammad Ali's not prepared.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right? He the greatest thing to ever come. He telling you.
Yeah,
Ahead
yeah.
of- in the press conference.
Right.
yeah.
Same thing with Mike Tyson. Nobody's going to doubt that man when he's talking crazy like that,
Mhm.
right? I guess it's, you just, it's,
Right. Well, that's, I mean, that just goes to our point that there is no one right way to do it. And
100%.
that's really the bottom line. And for those of you that are out there, the youngsters that are, a little nervous or trying to figure things out, it's okay. We've all been there. It takes time to figure out your own process, but it's your process. And
100%.
don't allow somebody to tell you how your process should be. Take it in, be respectful of the person or the coach that's trying to help you, but at the same time, underlying, you need to understand that your process is your process, and that's okay. And that's okay. If you're not super hyped and you're calm, fine. If you're not calm and you're super hyped, that's your way.
it's okay. Too.
It just is what it is, and everybody's got a little bit different way of dealing with stress and pressure and everything else. But as long as you're prepared, that's the number one thing. You can't go into something not prepared.
Yeah.
That's
That would be
that's the
my
rule.
biggest piece of advice would just be prepare up to the game.
Yep.
Don't try to prepare the night before.
Right. It's just like taking a test. It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
same
You got
way.
a huge AP biology test. Don't wait till the night before.
Yeah.
You got to understand the content of what's going on so that you can make decisions in the test. The same thing goes for sports and anything else in life. It's not one of those things that you should be waiting all the time and procrastinate, and then try to do it at the last minute. That's just not the way it's going to work, and you're not setting yourself up for success long term.
Facts.
Because when we talk about going into preparation and we're talking about getting in and out of a car or picking some up off the ground as a way to prepare for a game, well, we've said this before, athletics are going to end at some point. So your habits as an athlete, your habits as a student, once school is over and athletics is over, you have created a 15, 20 year, 10 year, whatever that number is, however long you were involved in it, you've created a habitual system over a 10 to 20 year period. So when that ends, you're going to walk into your life after sports with those habits. So I know we're getting a little philosophical here, but understand that if I'm getting into the mentality of the way I pick up that book or my posture when I read that book or the way I move this microphone to stand up and get out of this chair, if that's preparing me for competition, competition is preparing me for my life. And it's all about what I'm doing to get ready for it. So if I want to be a teacher or I want to be a doctor or I want to be a lawyer or I want to run a business or I want to do whatever that might be, what you're doing as an athlete is preparing you for that moment. So know that now and think about what's going to happen to you 20 years from now, because your life doesn't end when athletics ends. The identity of being an athlete ends, but again, that's okay. Move on. And all you have to go with you is the preparation, the discipline that you created as an athlete and as a student.
Bars.
Cool.
Yeah.
Everything to add?
That's it.
We're good to go?
Yep.
That's all good.
All right. Stay prepared, get ready, find your process.
And out. Mic drop.
Mic drop.
That's the first time you ever did a 30 minute, almost 30 minutes.
It was actually 30?
It was like 32 minutes or 33 minutes.
We usually go over. See, we getting good.
I know, yeah, we're getting good.
We're getting good.
Getting good.